months ago, I made a video about 20 minutes long to help you guys plan for your international Disney trips. And as many of you lovely people pointed out, that Disneyland is actually an international park for you guys, so sorry about that. So this video is to help you guys plan your vacation to the Disneyland Resort, Anaheim, California. If you're planning your trip and you have to fly into the area, I suggest checking out my previous video on international travel because I have a lot of secrets and tips on how I get the lowest airfare possible. So click that video here or the description and link below to see how to get the cheapest airfare that I possibly can find. As I mentioned before, there's not a lot of public transportation options, which means getting from the airport to the Disneyland Resort can sometimes be a little bit tricky. I looked this up because I was curious, and even though the John Wayne Airport is only 14 miles away from Disneyland, if you were to take our public bus, the Octa, it takes you like an hour and a half to 2 hours to get there. I would recommend two different ways to get from your airport to the park. If you are flying into LAX, if you take an Uber or a Lyft, it's going to cost you about 45 bucks. If you're flying into John Wayne or Long Beach, it's only going to cost you about 20-25. There's a lot of other third-party shuttles out there, like the blue shuttle buses, and those rates can be like 80 bucks a person going from LAX to Disneyland, so do some research on those. However, on the Disneyland website, they do endorse a service called the Disneyland Resort Express. It is operated by Southern California Gray Line. I'll have a link in the description below so you can check that out. They do take reservations. As I said, it's listed on the Disney website, so it's endorsed by Disney itself. The departing times are limited, so be sure to check out the schedule on their website to see if it works out when you land. It's $30 a person from LAX, it's $20 a person from John Wayne Airport, and it doesn't just go directly to the Disneyland hotels, it goes to all of the Anaheim Resort area hotels, so it can drop you off wherever you're staying, even if you're not on Disney property. That brings up the next question, where should you stay? Sarah made a really amazing comprehensive video of all of the Disneyland Resort hotels that you can check out. There is the Grand Californian, there is the Disneyland Hotel, and Paradise Pier. You do get extra perks, you're very close to the park, it's super walkable. You also get the extra magic hours, which is important, and of course all the Disney hospitality that you expect when you stay at any sort of Disney resort. The difference between Disneyland and literally all of the other parks in the world is that it's accessible from the street, which means when you're walking down Harbor Boulevard on the sidewalk, you literally can just walk into the Disneyland property. You don't have to always like take buses and trains like you do at Walt Disney World or any other park. So there are a ton of hotels that are literally right across the road along Harbor Boulevard where you can walk. Some of them are even a little bit closer than the Disney resorts themselves, and they're a lot cheaper, and they're still amazing accommodations. I recommend looking at any hotels along Harbor Boulevard. If you look within that first block or two right across from the Disneyland Resort, you are gonna see a ton of options. I've stayed at the Marriott over there. It's amazing. I think every room has bunk beds. It has a water park built in the back. It's really cool. I've stayed at the Howard Johnson. That's right there. You can see the Matterhorn straight from the Howard Johnson. If you've never been to Disneyland, it's pretty wild how much you can see from the street because that doesn't exist at any other park. Don't be afraid to look at hotels outside of the Disney Resort hotels, but they're the best. I mean, it's Disneyland hotels. It's the best accommodations you can possibly get, but there are a ton of other options that are more affordable if that's not in your budget. As far as what time of year to visit Disneyland, the nice thing about California is we have pretty decent weather pretty much all year round. It's magical. That's why everybody wants to live here. But crowd-wise, Disneyland is always kind of crowded. I mean, it goes with typical peak season. Summer's always busiest, spring break's always busiest, Thanksgiving break is always busiest. Those are pretty average. But because Disneyland has the most annual pass holders of any Disney park in the world, it's always full of AP people, like, you know, everybody on Thingamavlogs. So crowds are always gonna be a little bit high comparatively. I would say the best off-season times to visit would be February and October. Keep in mind in October, we do have Mickey's Halloween party that's gonna impact park hours and accessibility into Disneyland. Park hopper tickets are absolutely 100% worth it when you're visiting Disneyland because unlike the other parks in the world, except Paris, Disneyland and California Adventure are so close to each other. When you exit one park, you face the entrance of the other park right across the Esplanade. It's so easy to park hop. You will get the most out of your time doing that. You'll be able to experience the most stuff. It's considerably more easier to park hop than it is at Walt Disney World where you have to like take a bus or take a monorail and you kind of lose time in that transit. But here you literally just walk essentially across the road and you're in the other park. Totally worth it. I cannot stress enough before you book anything or pick the time of year or anything to go, check out the Disneyland calendar on the Disneyland website because it's going to include park hours as well as ride closures. There's a lot of construction right now because they're building Star Wars land, so a couple of things are closed. They're going to be closed for a very long time. If there's some things you absolutely have to experience on your trip, be sure to check that calendar, because if your dream is to ride the Matterhorn bobsleds and it's going under a refurb and you didn't look ahead of time, that's not going to be good. Also, it'll help you best determine which day to visit which parks, because California Adventure typically closes earlier than Disneyland. Disneyland tends to open earlier than California Adventure. The off-season hours can get really crazy. Special events can mess up the schedule, so be sure to plan ahead. Disneyland website has all that information so you don't have any surprises or shocks during your trip. If you're like me and want to eat at the fancy dining experiences that every Disney park has to offer, then look at the Blue Bayou in the Disneyland Resort and at Carthay Circle in California Adventure. They get booked super far in advance, so be sure to make your reservation. They are both totally worth it. It's really hard to make recommendations because it depends on what type of park experience you want. Like if you want to focus on like thrill rides or if you want to focus on characters and shows, it's totally different. But what I typically recommend is the things that are exclusive to Disneyland and California Adventure that you can't do in any other park. So on the Disneyland side of things, be sure to check out the Alice in Wonderland dark ride. The Matterhorn bobsleds don't exist anywhere else in the world. The Storybook Canal, one of my favorites, also very different from the one that's in Paris. Finding Nemo's Submarine Voyage, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, and pretty much all of those dark rides in Fantasyland, because it's pretty amazing to see stuff from when the park was first built in 1955. Mickey and the Magical Map is close to the show in Hong Kong, but it's different enough to make it worth seeing, and if you ask Patrick, then of course he's gonna be like, you have to watch it 4 times every day. On the California Adventure side, make sure to check out Cars Land. It is phenomenal. Radiator Springs Racers is probably one of the best attractions in all of the Disney parks in the world. Bugs Land doesn't really exist anywhere else. Mickey's Fun Wheel, you've got to do the swinging gondolas because it's the best. California Screaming is crazy fun, and the Monsters Inc. dark ride is one of the cutest little kid dark rides that I've ever been on. Just a few other tips to let you guys know. We do not have Wi-Fi in the park, so if you're on an international phone or you have data, you probably want to check into portable Wi-Fi options or international data plans during your visit. You can get Wi-Fi in the Disneyland hotels though, so if you need to take a break and post on Instagram or whatever, walk on over to the Grand Californian and use their Wi-Fi. Toontown closes early for fireworks. I don't know that that's always listed on the Disney website when it comes to park hours, but if Toontown's something you want to experience and there's fireworks that night, do it early in the day so you don't miss out. If you want to get a great spot for a show or a parade, you want to grab your spot about an hour before the posted time, because like I said, Disneyland is full of annual pass holders, and sometimes like we'll just go because we want to watch the parade, so we'll go and get an ice cream cone and sit for an hour and a half in the best spot possible so we can see it, so plan ahead for that too. Also, download the Disneyland Resort app. It is extremely useful. It has up-to-date wait times. They're all posted by Disney so you know that they're accurate. It has character meet and greet and locations, and when you're there, it'll help make your day go a lot smoother and a lot easier, so thanks Disneyland for making a good app. I know that is so much information, but I hope that this is helpful for you guys, because when you visit Disneyland, it should be the most magical, amazing experience possible. So if you have any other tips that you want to share with people, make sure to leave it in the comments below. If you have any other questions, I will try to get to them. I always try to help you guys as much as I can. And if you go, then let us know, and let us know if you had the most amazing time ever, because that's what Disney does. It brings magic for everyone. I promise I'll do one of these for Walt Disney World when I have time and when it works with the theme, so stay tuned for that. It's gonna be a little bit crazy. But until then, I'll see you guys later. Bye!